Felt a little bit of torque steer because it's front wheel drive. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be going over the all-new Ram ProMaster City. Before we get into this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram here in Provo, Utah for giving me some time with this ProMaster City. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below. If you have any questions whatsoever, just ask for Ryan. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 21 around town and then 28 on the highway, with power outputs being 178 horsepower and then 174 pound-feet of torque. Before we go over the front end of the ProMaster City, I do want to mention if you want to see more content just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post videos every single day. Starting with the hood, it's pretty simplistic with the design, flat there in the center, and then you guys can see this little line right here, and it's pretty tiny. And then coming down below, we've got halogen bulbs for the lights. You got that little Ram logo there in the center, and then you guys can see some of the venting there at the bottom. And you know, for a cargo van, it looks pretty good. And when you put it all together, like I said, I think that the new ProMaster City looks pretty solid. Come around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 215, 55, 16 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see here, we've got Steelies, which, you know, it makes sense. And I actually think it looks pretty good when you see it with the full side profile. And speaking of full side profile, here you go. You guys can see with the wheels, and notice we got our ProMaster City badge right there. And then we do have that slidey door there on the side, which we'll go over in just a little bit, but there's the side. And then here's our key fob. It's got a little flip out function there, and then you guys can see we've got the unlock, the lock function, and that's just the unlock and lock for the rear. Speaking of rear, we've got this door that we can open up, and then the back one, you just have this little handle right here, so then you can open up. Now this particular one is a windowless van, so no windows to be had, and whoa. Now all these cutouts here, you could have windows if you want from the factory, or you could add them in after the fact. And then in terms of the loading floor itself, it's got a decent amount of space. You can also get this with seats in the back, so you can make this into a passenger vehicle if your heart so desires. But in terms of the actual space itself, just to give you guys kind of like a reference point, from those front seats all the way to the back here, it's kind of similar to like the cargo area of a Suburban, with most of the seats folded down. Maybe not the second row, but at least the third row folded down. And then in terms of height, it's just kind of like a regular car. It's not super high, but again, that's not what the ProMaster City's about. When you are done with the rear doors, just boom, bam. We do have these pretty interesting taillights here in the back, and then notice the Ram logo there, more badging, and I mean, it's a cargo van. So we've got these slidey doors here with the ProMaster City. We got one on this side, and we got one on the other side as well. And with the door open, I mean, it actually helps out quite a bit with just loading stuff up into the van. Obviously, the back is going to be the most optimal place to load stuff up, but I mean, you could fit quite a bit here in the side. With the door panel here, we actually have some padding where you're going to rest your arm, and then this is interesting to open up the door. Windows are automatic, and then you have these like trailer style mirrors, which are pretty cool, and then plenty of storage space there. And then for those of you wondering, payload capacity is 1,824 pounds. And then here are the seats. We've got these cloth seats, pretty cool inserts there in the center, and then the seats are manual. Ka-cha! Yep, we gotta do this. Here's the steering wheel with the ProMaster City. You can see pretty basic with the material use. Does come with cruise control. You got like voice command, phone controls, volume controls as well. Turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock. And then with the center gauge cluster, well, it's mostly analog. So again, they just kept things simplistic. Now here's a backup camera. We do have trajectory lines, and this has them in the fixed setting. There's a menu in the infotainment screen where you can basically make it so they turn. But other than that, pretty good resolution. As for the rest of the controls, you can turn the screen on or off if you want. It's a radio. You can hook your phone up to it. Again, it's just simple, but it is a touchscreen. Single zone climate system just down below, and then there's like a random USB port. Shifter for that 9-speed automatic transmission. It does have a manual shift function built in. And then look, I can fit one of my water bottles. Got a parking brake right there. Got a couple 12 volts, and then we have more cup holder action. Now there's random little storage spaces here on the dash, as you can see, and then we do have like a traditional glove box. We've got our manual mirror dimmer, but like having a mirror with this is kind of pointless because you have no windows in the back. And then we have these sun visors that have no mirrors, and then there's tons of space here at the top for whatever your heart desires. So here's our window sticker. $32,520 is the base MSRP on this, and you can see all the standard equipment that comes with that. And then this has a $495 credit, I suppose, because of, yeah, some deletes with it. But anyways, total MSRP $34,220, 3-year 36,000 mile basic warranty, and then a 5-year 60,000 mile on the powertrain. And look at that. That's what you can do to it. Turn it into one of those. Let's drive it. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both of those mirrors throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. Setting off in the ProMaster City, and I feel like I have not reviewed nearly enough of these cargo vans over the last year. I think I've reviewed one full-size ProMaster. I think I reviewed a couple Sprinters, and now this, and that's about it. So I need to get back on the grind with the cargo vans. It's honestly hard to find cargo vans to review because most of these get sold via fleet sales, which I don't have any access to that. I'm not allowed to drive fleet vehicles. Or if they happen to be retail pieces like this, you know, like this dealership, for example, has just this one. That's it. There's not a lot of availability with them typically, and they usually sell pretty fast because there's a lot of businesses that want to use these. But anyways, other than me complaining about not being able to find vehicles to review for or not minivans, cargo vans to review, this drives surprisingly well. It's pretty smooth. There's quite a bit of road noise. There's some noise in the back. It's kind of expected. Cargo vans don't really have a lot of insulation. This is less about the driving experience and more about being as stripped down as possible to hold the most amount of cargo as possible, right? That's how you get that big payload capacity out of such a small vehicle. I mean, this thing has like no sound deadening at all. You guys saw airbag delete, you know, everything to save weight, right? Ride quality is pretty good. This engine's actually pretty dang torquey. It gets up and it moves at a pretty reasonable pace, that is for sure. And aside from that, the 9-speed seems like it's pretty responsive, so I think that's another plus. It's doing a pretty good job there. And seat comfort's also pretty good. These cloth seats, the bolstering on them is pretty open, so like if you're a bigger person, you'd fit in the seats pretty well. Okay, so we're going to be getting our acceleration here with the ProMaster City. Felt a little bit of torque steer because it's front wheel drive. You can hear so much, like you can hear the exhaust so well because of how little sound deadening there is. So here's the deal. That's actually pretty good, honestly. Like I'm actually surprised this is quicker than I thought it would be. So, you know, with exterior styling, I don't think that's super important for a cargo van, but I think this looks pretty decent. Interior, I mean, this is perfectly set up to do work. Like this is ready to go. Please don't hit into the side of me. Okay, good, they're braking. I was a little bit scared there. They were coming in hot. Yeah, it drives really well. Like it's easy to drive. So I think if you're like a smaller business and you don't need a ton of cargo space, but you need something that's good for work, and this is also it's affordable, so like I think it checks all of the boxes. The only thing that I do want to say is I wish that, you know, all of the manufacturers that are building cargo vans would focus on building more all-wheel drive vans and four-wheel drive vans, because, you know, there's a lot more people that are wanting to convert these. And, you know, I think that a lot of sales would be made if there was more availability with that. Like with Ram, you can't get all-wheel drive at all or four-wheel drive. They're all front-wheel drive. And so I think that would help out quite a bit. And you guys can see, I mean, even though I don't have any windows, I can use the mirrors and the backup camera to easily navigate with this in reverse. So I guess this also shows you guys just how easy this is to use with the visibility that we have with the van. Let me know what you guys think about the ProMaster City, and let me know if you guys want to see more cargo van reviews. These reviews usually don't get a lot of views, but I know that it helps out some people because nobody really reviews these. That's all. That's because something's up with our video on this ProMaster City. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram Jeep Crosser here in Provo for giving me some time with this ProMaster City. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see ya.